Welcome everyone to the fifth session in our Evaluation for Learning series. We just want to remind you to think back to earlier in this season when we talked about what counts as data and what data is, and to really just talk about the fact that data is simply pieces of information that can be used to understand something. We have this quote here from the book Street Data. Data live everywhere, on the streets, in the outdoors, in students' homes, in the hallways, in virtual meetings, in phone calls, in micro interactions between teachers and students. And we really want to understand that we want to go from a very narrow understanding of what data is, which a lot of us probably are familiar with if we have come to evaluation in a more traditional sense, to this expansive understanding of what counts as data and how we need to move forward in thinking through analysis of it. And to that end, I wanted to point out, thank you, Libby. Libby has put in the chat, if you are interested in this artwork piece, it's called The Great Tree of Life by a native artist, Christy Cameron. You can go to that link and you'll find out where you can purchase it for yourself. It's really great artwork. And we just wanted to be intentional about sharing that information. But to that end, thinking this broad way about what data is, we want to move forward with another artistic piece. So we want to present to you all with the poem, We Have No Need for Scientists by Julian Aguiman. I hope I'm saying their name right. Julian is an Indigenous human rights lawyer and writer from Guam. He is the founder of Blue Ocean Law, a progressive firm that works at the intersection of Indigenous rights and environmental justice, and he serves on the Global Advisory Council for Progressive International. The poem, which both Libby and Christy have put into the chat, we want you to take some time to read it and then think through these two prompts. What data is the poet using to understand the world? And how does this contrast with Western science ways of knowing? One of the reasons why I wanted to share this, besides the fact that we all think it's a really beautiful poem, is that title, We Have No Need for Scientists. And we want to point out that we're not saying that scientists are not valid, but that a lot of the times Western science is used to invalidate other ways of knowing. There are very linear ways to look at things, and just bringing up the fact that data comes in many forms. Just because we don't understand the culture or the mechanism of knowing doesn't mean that it's not valid. And we think that this poem really speaks to that. And also just to remind us all to broaden what information we consider when making decisions, what information we consider our data, and how we're looking at them, and how we're including different culturally specific communities when we're looking through our information. And hopefully, as you're hearing the 4 stories today, you're just hearing different ways that our storytellers are thinking through data and how they're using it to inform their practice. But we really wanted to share that with you, just to really highlight both the poem and bring us back to the fact that the thinking around data should be expansive. It comes in many forms, and there are many ways that we can think through how we look at it through analysis, and how we validate it. And Stephen has a really great observation in the chat. Stephen, do you want to say it, or do you want me to say it?
I'll say it. I just feels like all Western conservation is like utilitarian, ecosystem services or for the sake of X, Y, and Z. And this just says for its own right? Like just it has inherent value. Done. And that's just so rarely the conversation in our world. And it's a bummer. In our world, sorry. In the Western dominated way of thinking about things, or capitalistic, or
Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. So our series overview, this is where we have gone over both seasons. We've taken 2 seasons to go through the entire evaluation cycle. Our first season, we spent most of our time on the left-hand side, understanding why we evaluate, how our identities impact how we view evaluation and data information that we're taking. And then this season, the second season, we've gone through how do we analyze our data, what that evidence tells us, our implications, how we're doing the things, and if we're doing the things correctly. And then last session, we talked about how to plan and adjust based on our learnings. And so this session is going to be about implementing and what is required to do what we plan, which we hope you will see in the 4 stories that will be shared today. I want to bring us back to our learning outcome and objectives. So our outcome for this session is that participants will reflect upon their personal learning journey associated with this series so that they can articulate their own planned next steps in their respective settings. The objectives are that participants will listen to stories from the field and ask questions to understand how evaluation practice unfolds under real-world constraints. Identify elements of those stories that reflect or exemplify 6 main ideas from the Evaluation for Learning course, and discuss their own planned next steps to move their organization through the evaluation cycle and anticipate what supports they might need.